Hi everybody, welcome to Aimee Nolte Music. When I was in college, I had a friend who played the guitar. We'll call him Jordan. Jordan played his instrument better than anybody I knew. Every time I heard him play, it was kind of like the song. He was killing me softly. I could tell that he loved music and he loved his instrument more than I did, and that made me really want to get to know him. After a while, we became really close friends and we started doing everything together. And I noticed that no matter what we were doing, somehow the conversation was about music. If we went for a walk, we were singing melodies or practicing standards or talking about intervals. If we were driving, we were listening to the masters. If we went out to eat, we were talking about practicing and our practice schedules and how much we were practicing. With Jordan, it was pretty much music all the time. Sometimes we would drive to Salt Lake City together to hear our heroes that were coming through town. George Shearing, Monty Alexander, Joshua Redman, Roy Hargrove, Gene Harris. And every time after whatever concert we heard, on the way home, we had kind of this bipolar reaction to what we had just heard. In one sense, we were floating on the high of the music that we had just experienced and trying to take it all in and remember every single detail. It was like a high. I'm sure you know it. But on the other hand, we were lower than low, defeated or crushed in some way because we wondered how we were ever going to be able to play as beautifully as they did, know our instruments as well as they did, put in the kind of hours that it took for them to get to where they are, play as adeptly with seemingly no confusion, no problems with fingering, anything. And Jordan would always come to the same conclusion. As long as we were in college, there was no way that we could ever truly go for it. As long as we had to study things like science and economics and humanities and take time for other parts of life, we were never going to measure up. Maybe we were never going to realize our dreams. Summertime came, and I went home to California, and Jordan and I left each other with a promise that while we were away from each other, we would truly go for it. We'd put all our energy into our music, just like the young lions we were listening to, just like the people that were recording for Blue Note and Impulse, just like them. We wrote letters back and forth to tell each other about our progress. We tried to hold each other to our promise and tell each other about our successes and about our failures while we were apart. And it was kind of nice to have somebody to check in with, somebody who felt as deeply about music and about his musical journey as I felt about mine, and somebody who wanted to become a famous jazz musician just as much as I did. When we got back to school in the fall, I joined a quartet. Jordan was not in this quartet. Sometimes he sat in with us. But the guys in the quartet were checking out music that I hadn't really checked out yet. Late John Coltrane, Eric Dolphy, Andrew Hill, Mingus, Sun Ra, Don Cherry. We'll just say I had a lot of catching up to do. So I was listening all the time to try to keep up with those guys. Mitch and Jeff and Brian became three of my best friends, and the four of us went on a crazy journey together over those years. Most of what we gravitated toward was the avant-garde. Sometimes we'd play compositions that just revolved around an A, or a feeling, or at one point, an entire Star Trek episode. I've still got some of those recordings and they aren't bad. Want to hear? And other than the fact that I was taking biology and humanities and a whole bunch of music courses, I felt like I was really going for it. Practicing and listening and composing and arranging and having really deep musical conversations, trying as hard as I could to immerse myself in the jazz vocabulary. Jordan dropped out of school that semester. He just couldn't do it. For him, Getting his degree was nothing more than a distraction from really going for it. A music degree was keeping him from pursuing music to the degree that he wished he could. Jordan threw himself into practice like he never had before. He even moved away to take guitar lessons from one of his heroes. He started composing giant pieces of music, and he quit calling me. We quit keeping in touch. Over time, he put together some of his own musical projects, great projects, and I kind of became more of a fan than a friend. At the same time he dropped out of school, I met John, who would become my husband. Immediately, John became my biggest fan, coming to all my gigs, encouraging me in my writing and my arranging, carrying my Fender Rhodes keyboard on gigs, and I continued as a music major. But my practice probably suffered a little bit during this time. Instead of spending hours in the practice room every night, I started going on long walks and out to get burgers and to the movies with John. Just getting to know him or falling in love. John and I got married, finished school, and decided to move to New York City together. We even had a baby by then. I know it was a pretty early start. Jordan and I stayed in touch over the years. We even hung out in New York City a few times, and I can't tell you if you asked him if he ever really was going for it. I don't know what he'd say. But I'd tell you that if you asked me, I'd probably have to tell you I did not. I decided sometime during that second year of college that science and humanities and a degree and love, having children, that they were all worth my time. I realized that along with being a musician, I had always seen myself as a wife and a mom of a pretty big family. And somehow I was going to have to figure out how to do both. I knew I would never forsake music. It was probably the biggest part of me. I just had to figure out how. I needed to find some balance. I needed more things in my life than just music. And if it meant having to find room for those things, and even never really truly going for it, then so be it. There are really few amounts of Charlie Parkers and John Coltrane's and Thelonious Monks and Art Tatum's who spend nearly 24/7 on their craft and really, really go for it. And realizing that I wasn't this type of a musician wasn't easy for me. But I do know that I made the right call for me. If you're a musician and you're currently searching inside yourself, wondering what the future holds for you, how you're going to make it work, I'd encourage you to try it out a few different ways. Give a place in your heart for something to take root that's truly you. And balance won't look the same for you as it looked for me. It won't look the same for you as it does for your friends. Everybody's got their own path and ultimately their own story to tell. All I can tell you is to listen to your heart and give it some time. You're going to figure it out. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time on Aimee Nolte Music.